Rosenberg, and I am a national mortgage coach with Summit Funding. And I am completely honored today to welcome you and thank you very much for attending our National Lunch and Learn. Today we have Cheri Booth, who is our Director of Marketing. Cheri has more than 25 years experience in the mortgage and real estate industries, specializing in database management, market automation, and customer loyalty marketing. Cheri has a passion for helping our originators and their realtor partners take their business to the next level. Her background is many years in field sales enables her to effectively coaching you on increasing purchase leads and generating future pipeline of clients. Guys, make sure you take out your notes, make sure you grab your pens, because this is the kind of stuff that is going to help us be able to get more leads on a daily basis. I'm honored to introduce Cheri Booth.
Thank you, Jonas. I am so excited to be here today and to share this presentation with you all. Again, Cheri Booth, I'm the Director of Marketing here at Summit Funding. I am going to share with you all three marketing tools that we have here at Summit Funding that is going to help you turn more of your leads into buyers. Before I begin with that, I wanted to start off and give you a little bit of my background, because I think it really sets the stage for these tools that I'm going to share with you today. So a couple of years back, I had the opportunity to work for a consulting firm, and we specialized and we did a lot of research on the millennial generation and now the Gen Z generation. And what we were trying to do is really understand how are they different than any other generation when it comes to the home buying process. And we learned a lot. We learned that they are absolutely different from a Gen Xer like myself, a baby boomer like my parents. They go about the home buying process entirely differently than previous generations. I have this quote here, and it's so interesting. Our SVP, Jim Reed, shared this with us recently. It's not forever, it's just for now. And I know it resonated with a lot of us for different reasons, but for me, that quote made me think of millennials and Gen Zers when it comes to the home buying process. Because what we learned is that when they initially start that first research, that first foray into finding out what does it take to become a home buyer, they're usually not ready to start to actually, take that leap of faith at that moment. It's not for now. It's just at some point, in the future, they're going to be ready to do that. And that's really one of the most important things that I wanted to share with you out of the gate. Some of these facts that we learned. First of all, we learned that they can take anywhere from 18 to 24 months just in the research process alone, trying to understand what does it take to become a homeowner? What do I need to do? So again, that time frame, that process is a lot longer for this generation. We also learned that they want information, but they don't necessarily want to talk to anybody right away. So the more information you can provide them without them having to actually have a conversation with you, the better. And we learned that those leads aren't necessarily bad leads, they're just not ready yet. Let me explain that. I had a lot of opportunities to talk with agents, and we would talk about the leads that they were generating, whether it's through Zillow, Realtor.com, whether they have lead gen or lead capture on their website. And a lot of times the agents would say to me, oh gosh, most of these leads are just junk leads. They're not good leads. And my response back to them would be, maybe that's not necessarily accurate, because again, what we know about this generation is they do take a long time to make that decision. They spend a lot of time researching. As a matter of fact, what they're doing is they're going on to those different websites, putting in their name, putting in their email address so they can download that ebook or that white paper or that information about what they need to know to become a homeowner. But then when the agent calls them or texts them or emails them to follow up, oftentimes those leads don't respond at all, or if they do respond, they say, hey, I'm not interested. And again, it's not that they're not interested, they're just not ready yet. And so I think about that when we talk about leads. and we talk about all the leads that we have that we've gathered and those ones that aren't ready yet. And what can we do to move more of those folks off of the sidelines and into homeownership? What can we do to help educate them and give them the information they need so that when they are ready to buy, they come back to us? So that's really what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you 3 tools that your Summit Funding loan officers have that really serve that purpose. They help educate, they help inform, they help get these leads to engage, and ultimately uncover that gold within those databases you have. So I want to make sure, Jonas said it, I hope everybody has a pen and paper, because as we go through today, there's going to be some really important information that you'll want to write down. Specifically, I'm going to tell you to write down some things that you'll need to follow up with your Summit Funding loan officer on. So you want to make sure you take notes. And let's go ahead and dive in, guys. So we're going to talk about the first tool, and this is called single property sites. So I have a couple screenshots here on our single property sites, but let me take us into a live site. And this is actually a demo site, but it's an actual property. And I want to talk to you a little bit about this. So the neat thing about our single property site tool, this is a wonderful tool for any of you that have listings that you want to promote. All we need on our side is the MLS listing number, and we can put together this beautiful site. Literally takes us like 10 minutes to create the site at the most. Now, what you're going to see, I'm going to go down this site and I'm going to show you some of the neat features of it. It absolutely pulls in all of the photos from that listing, pulls in the description of the property and all the details. You'll see here more photos. Okay. And then one of my favorite parts of the site is the different interactive tools that are embedded into the site. So remember, millennials like information, they like to be able to interact and engage. So the first feature that we have here, not only do we have the map that shows where the property is located, but there's a little interactive feature that allows you to learn more information about the nearby schools. So if you're talking to a prospective buyer who has school-aged children, this is a great feature. They can not only see where those schools are located, but they can actually click on any one of the schools and learn a little bit more. So what grades, the number of students, the student to teacher ratio, they can see all that information. As we continue to scroll down, we have a section for area details. Now, all of these little icons here are interactive. So if we wanted to learn more about the area, the taxes in that area, right? The average property taxes, we can click on that. We could also learn about the cost of living in that area. So all of those are interactive. I'm going to ask you all to remember that section, the area details, because as I continue to go forward and show you some of these other tools, that's going to come back into play and we're going to tie everything together. So kind of keep a little mental note about the area details. The next section of the site is all about you. So this would be your contact information. So people viewing the site could easily reach out to you for more information. And then this is one of my favorite features. You're going to make a note on this. Everyone write this one down because this one's really cool. This is a lead capture form that is designed to be used as a sign-in sheet for your open house. So when we create these property sites, if you have an open house happening on that property, you'd want to let your loan officer know so they can schedule that open house when they build the site. Then what happens is this lead capture form becomes your sign-in sheet. Now, here's why this is so important. As you can see, it captures the person's name, their email, their mobile phone number. We're finding out, do they currently rent or own? And we're finding out what their time frame to purchase is. As soon as they click the submit button, that person is added onto a co-branded email drip campaign. In addition to that, you as the agent will get an email from your loan officer with all the details of that person filled out. And of course, our loan officers also get a copy of the email. But the most important feature is that co-branded email drip campaign. Now, I'm going to come back and talk about that a little bit later on as I continue through the presentation. But again, keep a little mental note of that the sign-in sheet has a co-branded email campaign kind of tied into it or built behind it. All right, let's look at a few more features here. We have our loan comparison. So we have the ability to show some different loan options here. These are also interactive, so we could click to learn more about payments, about principal and interest, as well as rate and APR. So very interactive there. And then as we continue to scroll down, we have a fun little calculator that people can play around with so they can check out, well, what would happen if I put 20% down, for example, right? So they can change the value and it does a little calculation over here, or if the interest rate needs to be adjusted, they can adjust that as well and see what the value is. And then finally, we have our loan officer information down here at the bottom. So beautiful site. Now, what do you do with these sites? I get asked that a lot. Okay, great. This looks awesome. How do I utilize that site? So I'm going to come back up to the very top, and I want to show you that embedded right here within the property site is a very easy way for you to share this information on your social media. So you'll see the LinkedIn icon, the Facebook icon, Twitter, and there's also one for Instagram. So for example, if you wanted to share this property site on your Facebook page, you just have to click on that icon and it'll create that post for you over here. You can type something like open house this Saturday from noon to 4, whatever you might want to say about that property, and then directly post it to your Facebook. You can also do the same thing for LinkedIn and for Twitter. Instagram's a little bit different. They don't integrate the same way as the other platforms. So what happens with Instagram is you are given 6 different layouts for an image that you can download. And of course, it'll pull in your actual, property photo in details. So you just hover over the image and click to download. It'll download that image for you so you can then post that on your social media sites. And then the last feature I wanted to show is the open house flyer. So this little paper icon allows you to create your open house flyer, and not only just the flyer itself, but there are some really fun pages that can be added to the flyer to create a nice little packet of information that you could either print out and have available at the open house, or you could save it digitally on your phone or your computer, and so you can text it or email it to folks. So you'll see there's several different layouts for the flyer itself. You can choose your layout by clicking on it. You come down and these are the additional pages of information. So you just select the pages that you want to add to your packet and then click the button to create your PDF. And what will happen is it'll download that PDF. We'll see it here in a second. It downloads it to your computer. So again, you can print it off and have it available to hand out, or you can keep it as a digital version that you could text or email to people. Now, you might remember I mentioned to you guys the area details section on the property site where we clicked and we learned a little bit more about the taxes and the cost of living. That's the same information that is within these additional pages that make up this packet. So let me bring this up for you. And you can see here's the initial open house flyer. And as I continue down, here are the additional pages with information. So again, the commute, talking about the people, cost of living, some information about the closest schools, and then it dives in even a little bit more detailed. My little tip for this, and I get asked this a lot, people say to me, okay, great, I can see I can post the site on my social media. What else can I do with this? Well, you can use this information on these additional pages to create additional social media posts to promote that listing. You could talk about the cost of living in that neighborhood. Fun fact about the average apartment rents in that area. You could talk about the average household income of people who live in that area, or how the household incomes have increased by whatever percentage it might be in the last, since 2010 on that one. You could talk about the number of dwellings in that neighborhood, what percentage of those are owner occupied versus renters versus vacant. So again, this just gives you additional information that you can use in your social media posts to help promote that property. So my little tip, I would say, is make sure that you, when you have a new listing, actually write this down, guys. When you have a listing, reach out to your Summit Funding loan officer. Ask them to create the property site for you. Make sure that they send you the flyer packet as well. And then you'll have those available for your open house. And again, you can also promote it on social media. You can even just send it to any prospective buyer that you've come in contact with. If you want to share more information about that property, you can send them the link to the property site as well. So that's our first tool, is our single property sites. And again, all you have to do is email or text your Summit Funding loan officer, give them the MLS listing number. And of course, if you are hosting an open house, make sure you let them know the date and time of that open house so they can schedule that up to create that sign-in sheet that then adds people onto the co-branded drip campaign. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as I continue forward. All right, I'm gonna go next to tool number 2, and you're gonna see how this ties in with the single property sites. And this is, you guys, this is probably one of my favorite tools that we have here at Summit Funding, which is our co-branded landing pages. Now we have a lot of different options on co-branded landing pages. I'm going to share 3 with you today that I think are very relevant and would be great for you to have to use and share with your prospective buyers. And the first one is the around the neighborhood. So I'm going to bring this up here so we can take a look at this. Now, remember our area details on our property site. And then I mentioned how the flyer packet has that same information in a flyer format. The around the neighborhood is the same information presented in a video format. So all you have to do is enter in a property address. Let me go ahead and put one in here. And it's going to generate a fun little animated video. We're going to listen in for a little bit here so you can see what the videos look like.
You may already know some facts and figures about this address, but how much do you know about the area around it? There are many factors that affect not only a home's value, but your day-to-day life as well. Let's take a wider look down the street and around the community. This neighborhood isn't just homes. It's made up of people too. Here is the population. And it looks like there are a bit more gals than guys. The median age of people in this area is 42, and the average size of families is 3.1. Just over 63% are married. 48% of households have children. Speaking of kids, let's go to school. There are 3 public schools assigned to this address. Next, let's get to work.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there, everyone. But I think you get the idea how it creates this fun little video that talks about the surrounding neighborhood. So here's my tip, and this is a good one. You want to write this down. Make sure you have your pen and paper handy. First of all, anytime you have a listing, not only ask for a single property site in the flyer packet, but make sure your loan officer sends you the around the neighborhood. And you actually only need this one time, because the around the neighborhood co-branded landing page can be used for any property address. As I showed you at the beginning, you just type in the property address and it creates the video. So here's my tip. When you're at an open house, pull up that video on your phone. So obviously you'll want to bookmark it on your phone. You can, I know I have an iPhone, it has a notes app, so you can save the link to your notes app. I'm sure Androids have a similar app as well. If you have an iPad, if you have a laptop, make sure you bookmark this on your iPad and laptop. So when you're at the open house, bring it up, put in the property address for that listing, and show it to the folks that are coming through the open house. Now, I guarantee you they'll love it. Everybody that sees the video thinks it's so cool. So here's what you're going to do is you'll say to them, you know what? If you'd like, I can text you this link. So as you're out and about looking at other properties, you can enter in those property addresses and get the information on the surrounding area. What's your cell phone number? Let me text it to you right now. So what you've done is you've now captured their legit cell phone number. How many of you know when people sign in on those sign-in sheets, they don't always give us the right information, right? They'll put Mickey Mouse and some dummy phone number or whatever. But this is a way that you can ensure you get their actual contact information. And what you're doing is you're sharing with them a tool that they can use not only for that particular property, but as they're out and about checking out other properties as well. And here's the beautiful part. Down here at the bottom is your contact information. So it's like you're traveling with them as they're checking out other properties, even if you're not actually there with them. If they were to share this link with a friend or family member who might be looking at buying a home, same thing. You're now in front of those folks as well. So this one is one of my favorite tools. And again, I love it because it ties in with the single property sites and the flyer packets. This is kind of like the third leg, if you will, of that stool. But you can use it not only for open houses. You can send this to any prospective buyers that you're talking to. You can email it to them, you can text it to them so that they can use it as they're out looking for properties. So remember, around the neighborhood, you're going to want to, at the end of this presentation today, you're going to want to ask your loan officer to create this around the neighborhood co-branded landing page for you. Now I have two other ones that I want to share with you. And the next one is actually a calculator. And as I bring this up, let's kind of go back to what I talked about at the beginning about the millennials and the Gen Zers. What they want is information, right? They want to be able to research, find out their own information without necessarily having to talk to you, but they want that information. So this is where the calculators for me become very important. This one is a 2-1 buy down calculator. So we're finding that this is very relevant in today's market. We're getting a lot of questions about buy downs. And so I love this calculator because people can actually play around with it and see what a 2-1 buy down scenario looks like. So this is how this works. You would come in and you would choose your state. So let me just select California here. Enter in the sales price for the property you're looking at. You can adjust the down payment, right, to whatever your down payment is. Closing costs can be adjusted. The interest rate can also be adjusted, right, and it'll adjust the values. And then it gives a general regular monthly payment and interest payment here. So it gives them a general idea. There's all kinds of little icons that they can get more information as they hover over the icon. When we go down to the buy down info section, I'm going to expand that open. Now this is going to detail for them what their first year rate would be with buy down, what the first year payment and interest, or principal and interest, excuse me, the monthly savings and the total payment savings, and then the same thing, excuse me, for year 2. And then they can even learn a little bit more about additional advantages. So can all kinds of information to inform them, educate them. The beauty is right here at the bottom is your information. So it's always there if they want to reach out. There's a call to action if they want to learn more. It's a little lead capture form that they can fill out. And for my Spanish speakers, we have the lead capture form in Spanish. And also at the very top of the calculator, let me bring it back up to the top here. There's a little toggle switch, so it can be toggled to Spanish. So if you have Spanish speaking clients, you can use this tool as well with them. So this is the second one, the 2-1 buy down. Write that down. Make sure you ask your loan officer to create the 2-1 buy down calculator for you. And again, you can share this with any prospective buyers. And then the final one that I want to show to you today is our simple home payment calculator. And this one's really neat. Again, same thing. It can be toggled to Spanish or English. And on this one, they're just going to put in their state, home price. They can play with the down payment, adjust it up or down. They can adjust the interest rate up and down, right? And it's going to give them an idea of what their house payment would be. They can hover over it to get some more information. As always, there is a lead capture form. So typically it's like this. It says, want to learn more, and then they can click on it and fill in their information. And of course, your details are down here at the bottom as well. So that is the house payment simple calculator. Write that one down as well. We're gonna put your loan officers to work today, right? So if nothing else, even if you don't have any listings right now for the first tool that I told you about, ask your loan officer for the around the neighborhood, the 2-1 buy down calculator, and the house payment simple calculator. And again, you can save those. They're gonna send you, if you see here, I'm going to click on my browser bar up at the top there. They're going to send you a link. So for each tool, each of these 3, there'll be a separate link. And again, you can bookmark that on your computer, on your laptop, on your iPad. You can save it on your cell phone so you have it very quick and easy at your fingertips to be able to share out with other folks. All right. Let's go to my third tool. And we're going to tie this all together here. One of my, I always say everything's my favorite. It is all my favorite because they all tie together, and I think they're just great tools to bring those leads in and help convert them into buyers. Okay, so you'll remember on our single property site, I mentioned the sign-in form that can be used for the open house, and how when people fill out that form and click submit, it adds them onto a co-branded email drip campaign. That is our prospect purchase campaign here. Okay, so you can see this is an example of one of the emails from the campaign. Now, here's why this is important. First of all, this one is a 4-month campaign with weekly emails. So you'd be in front of those leads regularly for 4 months. All of the emails have some sort of informative, engaging content, whether it's the around the neighborhood piece, whether it's one of those calculators that I just shared with you. This one here is tied to a total housing and payment calculator, right? So all kinds of interactive tools. So again, for our millennials and our Gen Zers who want information, we're providing that to them in this wonderful campaign that's very engaging. Now, this doesn't have to be just for the single property sites. If you guys have leads, if you've got leads from Zillow, Realtor.com, leads that you've generated from your website lead capture, maybe you're doing Facebook ads, maybe you have exhibited at a bridal fair event and have leads from that event, or a home show event, right? And you have leads. If you've got leads that weren't yet ready to buy, and you either don't have any type of system to nurture those leads right now, or maybe what you're doing is you're sending them property listings, and that's fine, that's good, but we can get them set up on this co-branded campaign, and the power behind it is the content. I always share this because I'm so proud of the system that we use and the content that we have and the responses that we get from it. So just so you guys know, on average, emails in our industry have a 21% open rate. That's the industry average, 21%. Our emails from our system, and I wrote this down, let me look at this. We're currently averaging 82.56% open rates. That is no joke. And that's because of the informative, engaging content, 82.56% open rate. The click-through rate, the industry average on a click-through rate is 3.1%. We're averaging 8.76% click-throughs. What that means is people clicking to go to the calculators, clicking to go to those engaging interactive elements that are in each of our emails. So that's the value behind this campaign, is it's good content, it's informative, it's educational, it's engaging, right? It gets these folks the information they need. And then the best part of it is the tracking system. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but I wanted to point out we have the prospect purchase campaign. So again, That can be used for general leads, right? But we also have a rent to own campaign. So if any of you have a property management division where you have renters, we have a campaign specifically designed for renters to help educate them. And the goal is obviously to move them into homeownership. This one is a 6-month campaign. And the emails go out every 2 weeks. So slightly different pattern there on the delivery, but same thing in terms of the informative, engaging content, right? So they have, every email has some type of a link that people can click on and get to one of those co-branded landing pages that I was showing you earlier. But here's the best part, guys, the tracking system. So let me talk a little bit about this. And I've got this brightly colored chart here. This is actual data. So this is from one of our loan officers. This one's from a rent-to-own campaign. So we took a little snippet of a report we generated for this loan officer a couple months ago. What we did is we had a bunch of leads that she and her realtor partner added to the co-branded rent-to-own campaign. And after 3 emails had been deployed, we pulled this report. So let's take a look at this. And I want you guys to look at the very first name on this list, Abigail Giroux, I think is how you pronounce her name. Hopefully I didn't botch that. But let's look at this. Abigail's name goes all the way down here to this blue line here, okay? So let's take a look at this. The very first email in this campaign is a thank you email. So Abigail opened that email 5 times. She opened it on the 30th. So all 5 times were on the 30th. And you can see these are the timestamps of when she opened the email. The second email went out, which was the rent to mortgage simple calculator. It was actually sent on the 13th of December, and Abigail opened it that day. She also opened it, look at the line right below it, on December 25th. Then on December 27th, she went back and opened up the first email, the thank you email again. And also on that day, she received the third email in the campaign, the if you can afford rent, and she opened that email 4 times. And then on the 29th, 2 days later, she went back and opened up the second email again. Now, what does this tell us about Abigail? She's probably interested in doing something. At least her behavior, her pattern, her activity tells us, wow, she's engaging with this content. She's opening these emails. She's opening them multiple times on multiple dates. And she's opened all 3 of the emails that have been sent to her thus far at that point. So that's where this report becomes valuable, because you might have, I'm going to make up a number, 200 leads, right? And out of those 200, you have no idea where they are in their decision-making process about becoming a homeowner. Especially our millennials and Gen Zers. Remember, I mentioned at the beginning, they can take anywhere from 18 to 24 months to make that decision. So you have no idea where they are, but this report is going to give you a pretty good idea. At least we can see who's engaging, and then that becomes our follow-up, right? If I would much rather follow up with somebody that I could see this type of pattern than somebody I have no idea if they have any interest at all, in buying a home, right? But if I can look at this report and go, whoa, we're seeing some activity here, this is probably a good person to follow up with. Because I don't know about you guys, I'm in this business. I love email marketing, but when I open up my inbox on my personal email, delete, 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 delete. If that subject line doesn't have some level of interest to me, or I don't recognize the sender, I delete it before I even open it. So for somebody to take the time and actually open consistently like that, that's a really good indication that they might be interested. So this is the power. This is what our Summit Funding loan officers, not only do they have these amazing campaigns with this great content, but they also have the ability to track this information and bring this report back to you on a regular basis, so you guys can sit down and have a strategy meeting and decide how you're going to follow up with those contacts, right, that are engaging in this campaign. I absolutely love this. I have all kinds of stories that come from our loan officers. I had one of our loan officers share with me that after having started a campaign with one of her agent partners, that they had 4 applications kind of resurface from the leads in that campaign. I had another story. It was so exciting. We launched the campaign. I'll never forget this. We launched the campaign, and literally like an hour later, the loan officer emailed me and she said, we've already got a lead. And what happened, they were using the rent to own campaign. It was interesting. And somebody, one of the recipients of the email, reached back out to the loan officer because he's a business owner. So he wanted to talk to her about partnering with her and the agent, business-wise. And our loan officer, being a rock star, as all Summit Funding loan officers are, she asked the gentleman, hey, do you currently own or are you renting? Well, she knew that he's a renter because we have them on the rent to own campaign. And of course, he confirmed that. And he said, hey, we're thinking about buying a home. Literally the next day, the loan officer had an appointment to meet with that person to take an application. So that is a deal that the agent probably wouldn't have gotten, and certainly the loan officer wouldn't have gotten if they hadn't implemented this campaign. They just took that list of leads and put them on a campaign, and it brought up a new opportunity. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? That's what all these tools are designed for, is to help you to uncover that gold within those databases, to have this content that is, relevant, engaging, informative, right? That gets those folks to engage with it, to have these reports that we can see and follow up with, and ultimately turn those leads into buyers. So that's our tools. So let's talk here. Here's your action items today. Take a screenshot of this or write this down. This is your action items. I encourage all of you, if you have listings right now, make sure you have your Summit Funding loan officer create that single property site, create that flyer packet, get you that around the neighborhood co-branded landing page so you can use that for your listings. And remember, on the listing, if you have an open house, make sure to let the loan officer know the date and time of the open house so they can set that sign-in form, right, on your single property site. Second thing is even if you don't have listings, that's okay. If you don't have a listing right now, have your loan officer get you those 3 co-branded landing pages that I showed, the around the neighborhood, the house payment simple, and the 2-1 buy down calculator, right? Save them, bookmark them on your computer, save them, save those links on your phone, start sending them out to your prospective buyers, your leads that you have. And then the third thing, you guys, if you have leads that are just sitting there, the not yet readies, and you're either not doing anything with them, or maybe even if you are, I highly suggest get that information together. Let's get them on the co-branded campaign. Let's start nurturing those leads with this content so that your loan officer can bring that report to you and show you the activity, and you guys can make your strategy calls, your follow-up calls. This is all we need. I've got it here on the slide for you. So if you've got a list of leads, all we need is the first name, last name, and email address. And we need that in either an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file, either one. What we will do is we will take that lead list and we're going to import it into your Summit Funding loan officers database in our system that we use. We're going to tag every single one of those contacts with your name. Number 1, so we know that they're your leads. Number 2, so that we can create that co-branded email campaign. By the way, make sure your loan officer has your headshot and your company logo and all your current contact details, right? Because we want to make sure we get that all set up as well. So the co-branding has all of your current information. Once we get the database imported and set up, we're going to create a proof of the first email from the campaign, whether it's the rent to own campaign or the prospect purchase. We will send you a proof of that first email, because what we want you to do is verify we have all your contact details correct. You could also take a look at the message of the first email. If you want us to modify it, we can do that, okay? Once you give us the thumbs up, we're gonna trigger that campaign. And so depending upon whether it's the rent to own or the prospect purchase, one is 4 months, one is a 6-month campaign, right? And it'll start deploying those emails. And then my best practice, my tip is you want to wait until 2 or preferably 3 emails have been sent from the campaign before you pull that first report. Because what we're looking at on that report is we want to see the pattern, right? So one email goes out and we see a bunch of people open and click. That's great. That's exciting, right? But what we're really looking for is that pattern. Hey, they've opened 2 emails. They've opened 3 emails, because that's going to give us the indication that they might be interested in doing something right now, or at least they're in that information gathering stage. And we want to see if we can support them and help them. And that's when you'll want to make your phone calls on that. So make sure, follow up with your loan officers. We have these tools for you guys. They are phenomenal. We've had awesome success from this, and we want to make sure that we can help support you and help you turn more of those leads you have into buyers. So with that, Jonas, I'm looking at the time. I think I'm right on time here, my friend. I want to open it up now and see if we have any questions that we can answer for the folks joining us today.
Cheri, first of all, you killed it. Thank you very much. If anybody nationally has questions, I'm just going to start reading the questions from Cheri from the chat screen. So I know I have 3 or 4 here, but please go ahead and start adding your questions. Cheri, we have you till about 1 o'clock, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect, guys. So if there's more questions after 1 o'clock, we'll make sure we get them to Cheri. Please make sure you put what market you're in when you put up these questions, so we can make sure we get your answers. So Cheri, the first one, it says, can I manually add a contact from the sign-in sheet after the open house?
Yes, yes. So during the time of the open house, the wording on the single property site says, welcome, sign in here, or check in now, I think it says. After the open house, it'll change slightly. I think it says interested in a showing. It's the same lead capture form. So yes, you can go back and add people by clicking on that, that form and add them, and they'll get added to the campaign. Absolutely.
Perfect. The second one, where do they go in to get the simple calculator?
Is that a realtor question or a loan officer question?
That is a loan officer question to us.
Okay. Loan officers, I sent you all a very informative email this morning with all the details you need on how to access the tools from our system. So please double check. It's a long one too. I apologize, but I tried to put everything in there for you. So please check your email for the email I sent out this morning. It'll give you all the details on how to access the tools.
Okay. From Michael, what if I were hosting an open house for a colleague's listing? Can the open house sign-in form still be provided?
Yes, yes. So it'll be co-branded with you. That's how we'll set up that property site with your information on it.
Perfect. And guys, once again, if anybody has questions, I'm just going to keep reading them off the chat screen. So please feel free to add any questions. Cheri, what are the 2 email campaigns? Rent to own 4 months and question mark.
The second one is prospect purchase, and that's a 6-month campaign. And for all of our agents that are joining us today, we are, just FYI, we're going to be sending you a follow-up email, and I am providing my PowerPoint in that email, and I've actually made it as a PDF document. But the nice thing about it is you'll be able to click, and so all of those interactive, the landing pages I showed you, even the emails, when you get to the slide on the emails, if you click on the email, it'll take you to a documentation that shows the whole campaign. So we're going to give you what that looks like. Again, it's my details, right? It's a generic version of it, but that'll be in the follow-up materials that we send out to you guys. So be looking for that.
Hey, Cheri, how do add leads as they come along? How do Sean, you may have to clarify this one for me. How do we add leads as they come along after the initial list?
Yeah, we can do that. And I'm assuming, is that coming from a Summit Funding Loan Officer, Jonas?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we're going to do that, guys. That would be in our Surefire system. And I can walk you guys through how to add additional leads after maybe the initial list. So yes, or you can send an email to marketing with the information and we can add that individual or people, however many you have, we can add it to your campaign as well. Either way.
So Cheri, just so I understand, the lead nurturing tools you provide are lead capturing tools, not to be used as a CRM, correct?
Correct, right.
Okay, perfect. And then can the property listing custom site be built in Spanish?
Oh, not at the moment. The tool that we use, I've got that request in because obviously I showed you some of the features, especially those landing pages that can be toggled to Spanish. They haven't launched the property sites in Spanish yet, but that is a feature request that I've submitted. And I know that is something that they're working on. I don't have an ETA, but I know that's something they're working on. That would be amazing, I know.
Eddie Estes would like to know who is Summit Loan Officer contact here is in the Dallas area. So if I can have a Texas loan officer respond to that, please, on the chat screen.
Absolutely.
Is there any more questions, guys? We definitely have time for Cheri, about 10 more minutes. Oh, I see one being typed in. If there's any more questions, please feel free. Cheri, I think I see somebody typing on Megan's screen there. And if there's any, Cheri, are these campaigns or sites geared towards sellers?
Sellers. Oh, you know what? I had that question, and I am working on putting together a campaign for sellers. So we have access to content. I just have to put it together in a full campaign. So it's in the works. I don't have it today. I would suspect within the next 30 days, we should have that available, where there would be a specific seller, campaign versus buyers. So yeah.
Let me clarify that one. Megan added on a little bit. Are these geared towards sellers who will then need to buy?
So when we're talking, are we talking about the prospect purchase and the rent to own, or prospect purchase, I guess, campaign? Is that the question?
Megan, do you mind popping you off of mute? You can just go ahead and pop you off mute because I'm gonna stay right here. Perfect.
Hey Jonas, it's actually Blake.
Hey,
so the question is just, do we have any campaigns built towards sellers with the idea that most of our sellers will ultimately need to buy a house? Okay. So I think it could cover a multitude of things, whether that's just encouraging them to sell or, right. How maybe a campaign that's less about first-time home buyers and more about ways to use the equity from a sale, those types of things.
Absolutely. So that is definitely working on that, Blake. There is content. We have content available. I just have to put it all together in a campaign, kind of go through that and get it all together in a campaign. So yes, we will have that probably within the next 30 days. I should have that ready and launched for you guys.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Cheri, do the realtors have the option to enroll in Surefire?
Unfortunately, well, okay, let me clarify that. Can they enroll as like a client of a loan officer's and see the emails? Is that the question? Or can they use it directly?
Use it directly.
Okay. Unfortunately, it is a mortgage specific platform. So the company that we use, Surefire, only works with the mortgage industry. But that's why, kind of our presentation today to say, hey, we have these tools that we can, help support you guys in your business, but it's not, they don't work directly with agents. They only work with the mortgage industry.
Is the Nurture campaign co-branded yet?
Is the Nurture campaign co-branded yet? The Nurture campaign, so that's a Summit Funding Loan Officer, can be co-branded. And if you reach out to me, we'll go through the specifics of that.
All right, guys, we are to the end. Is there any more questions? We do have Cheri for 5 more minutes. If anybody does have any more questions, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat screen.
Jonas, did you answer the question about Googling the address? Or
oh no, I must have missed that one. Blake, can you go ahead and repeat the question, bud?
it's if I Google the address, will the single property site show up?
If you Google the address, ooh, that's a good question. I don't know, Blake. I need to find out a little bit more about that one. That's a good question. May I get back to you on that one?
Absolutely. And that was Sean Brennan's question, which was, I agree, it's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, making a note.
Cheri, the other question that just came in, is there any cost to the realtors for any of this?
No.
I think I got everyone here. Let me just go back and double check in case there's any more.
Actually, oh, never mind.
Oh, somebody was trying. Was there another question?
Yeah, hit a echo going on.
Sir, if you can put it in the chat screen, we do have 5 more minutes with Cheri, so please feel free.
Hey, Jonas, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Ryan Hoffman has a question.
Please.
Actually, all I was going to say is that the cost for using the service is just to direct all leads to your Summit Funding loan officer.
What he said.
Cheri, lots of wonderful comments coming in on the chat screen. Once again, we are absolutely honored to have you. Thank you so much.
You, guys.
Guys, if anybody can think of any more questions, we're going to leave the chat screen open for a little bit, so I'll make sure just put the market that you're in when you're asking the question so we can get the answer to your loan officer. We are having our national lunch and learn again in March. It is always the 3rd Tuesday in March. Oh, Cheri, one last question here. Is there any functionality to show other listings, auctions, pre-foreclosures, etc., in the surrounding areas?
Ooh, I need to dive into that one too. So pre-foreclosures, huh?
Or even a separate landing page. I'm just thinking of stuff that maybe captures those borrowers' search activities on other sites.
Yeah.
Or not on other sites, but on, for properties in general.
Right. Let me find out, Blake. That's Blake, right? Asking that. Yeah, let me dive into that one with our rep and see what options might be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Anything else, guys? All right, we want to thank you very much. The next National Lunch and Learn will be the 3rd Tuesday in March. If there is any more questions, please put it in the chat screen. We'll make sure we get it to Cheri. Thank you so much for everybody for joining today. And Cheri, once again, we're honored. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.